So this pattern I designed 2 years ago when we were actually going to visit our daughter in China. So we had fostered her, and we knew we wanted to adopt her, but it took us a year to get the paperwork ready. And so while we were waiting, we went to visit her, and I wanted to sew her a shirt and the foster family that she was staying with, and I also wanted to sew my boys a shirt. So I designed this unisex pattern so that they could all wear it. Hey, can you go watch Curious George? Do you want to say hi and then you go watch, okay? You say hi? Say hi to the camera. Okay, now you go watch George, okay? No, why not? Mommy's gonna sew, okay? So I wanted to design a shirt they could all wear. So at that time, I only needed sizes 18 months through 6 years old. And then since then, I've updated this pattern, and it now goes through 10 years old. So hopefully you can get a chance to check it out and see if it's something that you might like. If you've already sewn it, I'd love to hear your thoughts about it in the comments, and just what you thought about it, and your experiences with it, and pictures if you have would be great for all of us to see. So we can check that out and go from there. So okay, I'm going to get to cutting this, and we'll hopefully get sewing. Okay. So again, I've got my front and, well, my front back and my sleeve piece, and then I'm going to be using some scraps today since I'm not making a very big shirt. It's just going to be a size 2T. So I'm going to cut the front and back from this pink, and I'm going to use the sleeves and the neckband from this. Now on the pattern, the neckband is not a pattern piece, so you have to cut it. So we can talk about that, and if you have any questions about what the neckband should look like and sizes, you can ask that as we go. So if you have any questions at any time, I can see your comments, so go ahead and ask, and then I can answer as we go. So that's the fun thing about doing this live, is that I'm hoping people can get a chance to ask questions that sometimes might take me longer to answer if I'm responding to email or something else. So, all right, so for cutting the fabric, I'm gonna go with the grain line, and actually, looks like I've forgotten my pins, so just a second. Hey Max, can you bring me my pins from the table? So I'll get my little runner to bring me my pins. Thank you. And then I'm good cutting. So on the pattern, you need to cut on the fold, and you'll cut one piece on the higher back neckline and one piece on the lower front neckline. And I'm going to lower the front neckline even a little bit more than the pattern because it's going to be a summer t-shirt, and I feel like it's a high neckline on the original pattern. So because I'm making it for a girl and because it's for summer, I would like the neckline to be a little bit lower. So I'm going to cut the back on a fold, and it looks like we're going to have a guest, my guest assistant, joining us today because she just can't stay away. Hi. Yep, that's the video on the computer. Rose is 2.5, and she's been with our family for a year. We actually tonight have our 1-year adoption report visit with our social worker, and so we're really excited that it's already been a year and it's gone so fast. So anyway, I've loved sewing girl clothes after several years of just having 2 boys and sewing lots for them, but not having the opportunity to sew things for girls. So I'm now cutting out the back, and I'm going to cut 2 of this piece, one on the high back neckline, and then one on the lower front neckline. So, hey, you cannot touch that, okay? Can you hold this? Okay. So we've got the back cut out, and now we're going to cut out the front. And you always want to cut the back first, so you can then, when you cut the front one, just cut the neckline lower and ruin your tissue or your pattern piece, but it doesn't matter because you don't need it anymore once you have a second one. So if you're just joining, we are sewing the Raglan Kids t-shirt from Naptime Creations, and I'm going to do it from start to finish in probably about 45 minutes for you, just to show you how easy it is to sew this shirt, and that you can go ahead and sew up a bunch to fill your kids' wardrobe. If you have sewn this before and have a photo, I'd love for you to put it in the comments so everyone can see what this pattern looks like in action. This pattern's been out for 2 years, and there are picture step-by-step directions on my blog. With the link is above me in the comments. So if you want to check that out, you can. But this is a video, so I'm going to show you how to do it in action. Okay, so that's the front and back. I'm going to cut the sleeves from this, if I can find my sleeve piece here. And this is just a scrap of fabric because the sleeves don't need a lot of fabric. Again, you're going to cut it on the fold. And I'm making short sleeves for summer. And I'm even going to make them a little bit shorter than the pattern piece, because again, I'm a little bit modifying this to make it a bit more feminine, as this pattern works for both boys and girls. But sometimes if you're going to make a unisex pattern, you can adapt it a little bit for the gender that you're actually sewing for, even though it works for both genders. So when I use scrap fabric, sometimes I have to be creative on my cutting to find enough fabric to make it work. Let's see. Okay, so we can cut that one like that. And my daughter's over here laying out the pattern pieces. I might not get them back from her. But okay, so I see that Ellen has checked in, so that's fun. Anyone else want to say hi and where you're from? And if you've sewed this pattern before, it would be great to hear what you think. But just say hi, let me know you're watching, and I can see how many people are watching, but I don't know who you are, where you're from, or what you're doing. So if you want to share that, that'd be great. Give me a little encouragement as I'm going here today. All right, so I'm going to cut the neck banding right now, and for that I do like to use my rotary cutter, but you don't have to if you don't have one. You can just cut a rectangle. So the general rule for a neck band is you measure around the neck and then you cut 80% of that. So for example, if you measure around and it's 10 inches, you would cut a strip that is 8 inches long. So I'm just going to cut longer than I need because I'm here and I'm cutting before I get my machine set up. And then later I can always go back and trim to length. And I'm going to cut mine 1.5 inches wide, which will give me plenty of width for my neck. So you can cut it a little bit narrower or a little bit wider depending on personal preference. I like 1.5 inches to 1.25 inches generally, because then when you fold that in half, it's so fold in half, and then it just kind of looks like a t-shirt neckline. So there you go. And now we've got lots of scraps of fabric around, and we're going to get sewing. So I'm going to have to just shift the camera a bit so you can see on the side that I'm going to sew. And I'll walk around here. And then we're going to turn to here. Again, this is not where I normally sew. I had to move locations because of my internet connection problems. So next time I do this, I will be better set up to begin with, and hopefully not have sewing machines kind of haphazardly put on the dining room table. So let's see how I can do this. Excuse me as you get a, close your eyes so you don't get a wild ride around my house. And I once again lost you guys, so sorry. So this is now part 2. We've cut out the raglan shirt, and now we're going to sew it. So if you lost the first connection, hopefully you were able to come over and find it on Naptime Creations. So we're going to use these machines here to continue to sew, and I've got things lined up. So we're going to start by sewing, again, our front and back are almost the same, except for we cut the neckline just slightly different. So we're going to sew, I'm going to use my serger, but you can also use a regular sewing machine. But what we want to do first is, with right sides together, we want to sew the edge of a sleeve. So if you open up a sleeve, it kind of looks like a triangle like this. And if you open up your shirt, the top also kind of looks like a triangle. Okay? So you're going to match the triangle edges along the side of a sleeve. So like this. Okay? So you've got a sleeve match, and honestly, I don't pin this because I'm just going to sew straight down, and you see it just matches perfect along the triangle edge. So the seam allowance for this is about just your 1/4 seam allowance. Depending on what you like to sew, you can probably get closer to the 3/8 mark as well. Okay, so now I've sewn the sleeve to one side. Okay, and we're going to sew the sleeve to the other side in exactly the same way. Okay, go ahead, go to the bathroom. Okay, and now I'm matching up the triangle edges of the other side like this. Okay, so we've got, I'm going to sew along there, and then we will have a completed one side of the shirt. Okay, so here you go. You can see kind of looks like sleeves. And, oh, someone liked my pose. Thanks a lot. Okay, so this is a completed front side. So now we have to attach this other side, and this is the front. I can tell because the neckline is a little bit lower. And so again, you just want to make sure you've got right sides together, and we're going to open this up, and you're going to match the front with these other wings on the sleeve. So I'm going to pull this up, put my right sides together, and match the right side with the right side. Okay, and then line up the edge, and I'm just going to sew it down. So I really appreciate your patience if you've stuck with me through my technical difficulties this morning. I promise the next time I do this, I will have it set up better, and hopefully I won't have to start 5 times to get it going. Okay, so here, and then we're going to match the fourth side, and then we will have 4 sides. Actually, so a great tip now to make it a little bit easier is actually if you want to open it up like this and sew the neckband on before you close the circle. It just makes the neckband so much easier to sew. So I'll just, I'm just going to put it on now just to make it easier on myself. And so you fold the neckband with the wrong sides together, like this. So you have your design out, and then you just pin it with right sides together along the neckline. So I'm just going to go ahead and do that real quick. I know I shouldn't put a pin in my mouth, but what are you going to do? So you have, now you want to stretch it just a little bit. I didn't follow my own instructions, which said to cut 80% because I didn't measure, but I also know that if I just kind of stretch the neckline a bit as I'm pinning it on, that it's going to be an okay width and tightness. So I'm just pulling the neckline, the neckband a bit as I'm pinning it, and I'm going to pin it all the way around the shirt. And then I'm going to sew it around. And you can sew this in the round if you're really comfortable at sewing, but I would suggest if you're fairly new to sewing that you would pin it while you don't have a round neckline, while you have an open neckline. Okay, so let's go ahead and sew that on. And again, because you pulled as you were pinning, you also kind of have to pull as you're sewing to get the fabrics to line up, because one is a little bit tighter than the other. So you try to avoid any puckers. Pull as you're going. Make sure you're catching all 3 layers. You're sewing through 3 layers of fabric here. Both the middle and so 2 neckband layers and 1 shirt layer. And you don't want to have any holes when you're done. So you want to make sure you're continuing to pull and stretch and line up all the layers. All right. And I'm going to trim off my extra neckband, and then I open it up and just check to make sure I don't have any weird puckers or holes as I'm doing it. So we've got here, and there's my neckband. So now I'm going to match the 2 open ends along there. Okay, and then I'm going to sew up that side. Now that does leave a seam on your neckband, and what I generally do is when I'm all done, I'll show you how I just finish that edge. Okay, so you do have this now, and of course I have black thread on my serger because I am in denial that I need to change the threads. I just don't like doing that. So so it looks fine on the outside. It's actually kind of it's a nice, neat finish, but you do have this tail, and if I cut it, I am a little bit afraid that it might fray. So I'll either take a darning needle and put this end with a needle through my other stitches so it's attached, or I'm going to go to the other machine and I'll just tuck it under, and then I sew the seam allowance over right here, and then that kind of secures that edge as well. Okay, so I will do that after we've kept going on this. All right, so again, now for hemming the sleeves, you can hem it while it's flat, which is the easy way, or you can hem it after you've sewed the side seam. So today, since I'm just showing you how to sew, if you're a very basic beginner, the absolute easiest way to sew the hem is if, let's see, we have power. The absolute easiest way to do it is with the sleeve flap. So I haven't sewed the side seams, and I'm just going to turn about a 3/4 inch over on my sleeve, and I would pin this, except for I just have no space to work with right now. So I'm just gonna wing it again for demonstration purposes, and I'm gonna keep about 3/4 inch over. And I've set up a double needle with woolly nylon on my machine. I've also linked to that tutorial above me. It's a video tutorial about, with no technical difficulties, about how to sew with a double needle and woolly nylon, which I find just gives an awesome finish and without having to have a cover stitch machine. So, oh boy, 1 second while we dress the 2-year-old again. Okay, do it down there. Okay, so I'm hemming the sleeve, and I've got my double needle and I've got woolly nylon on the bobbin. And if you haven't seen my video tutorial and you like to sew with knit fabric, I would highly suggest you check it out because it's so easy and so inexpensive compared to, say, buying a cover stitch machine that you'll love it. Okay, so look at my hem now looks like this. 2 stitches on the front, and then the woolly nylon is a little zigzag on the back. So that looks great. And then I'm gonna do the other hem on this side. Okay, so we've got, Kathy just gave me some encouragement, thank you. And Amanda, thank you also for checking in. Great to see you guys. And this will be on my Facebook page. So Amanda, if you go to sleep, if you're too tired, you can come back tomorrow and finish it because it will be here for you to watch. And I'm also gonna probably repost it on my blog at some point for those of you who want to be able to watch and sew along at the same time. So we've got the other hem. Again, I'm just folding under about 3/4 of an inch on the back side of the hem, and this shirt is really coming together. Now the thing I really like about this shirt, or many of my free patterns, for example, is the fact that you can probably from start to finish, from cutting, everything be done in less than an hour. And if you make several of them, you can get really good at it and be done in even less time. Now I did just break my thread, it looks like, so I'm gonna re-thread that. And you can see that it started to sew and then it dropped off. And how many times have you finished the stitch and then realized, my bobbin is out, and I just sewed for 5 minutes and didn't do anything. So definitely have done that several times. You'd think I'd be more observant. What are you eating? You got some cereal and a measuring cup. So we're being creative here with our breakfast, and still finishing up some food. So if you didn't know, I'm actually based in Hong Kong. So it's morning here. We're at 10:15 a.m. My daughter's still in her pajamas, hanging out, and have another son who will be going to afternoon preschool, but this morning is in the back watching TV and trying to stay out of our hair. So he's happy for the excuse to watch more TV. This one, however, it doesn't keep her interest so much. So anyway, let's finish this hem so we can move on to the next step and be done with that. I see several of you have just joined us, which is awesome. We're sewing the kids' raglan shirt from Naptime Creations. It's a free pattern in size 18 months to 10 years. You can download it from the link above. Use it as many times as you want. You can sell what you make with it. I have, there's a woman who sells radical raglans, and she gives all the proceeds to families who are adopting or working with foster kids, which is such a great ministry in my mind, and one that's very dear to me. And she uses this pattern for all of her shirts. So when she asked if she could use this pattern to sell, and she told me what her plans were, I was so excited to say, yes, of course you can use this pattern, but you can use it for any purpose. There's no limitations on it. So All right, we have, it's starting to look like a shirt, okay? So the sides are hemmed, or the sleeves are hemmed, and now we're going to sew up the side seams. So you want to put the sides together, matching from the hemmed sleeve all the way down to the bottom of the shirt. Okay, so you can see that right like that. We're going to sew just down. The corner can get a little tricky. I just kind of go around it, keep it really simple. Miriam, glad you're watching from Mexico. How cool. This is an international viewing this morning. So I'm going to just sew down here. Again, if I had space or I hadn't sewn this 50 times already, I would definitely put a few pins in here just to make sure everything was staying as I was sewing. If I'm sewing something for the first time, I definitely don't just wing it like this, but due to lack of space this morning, I'm just going to sew this down. Make sure that you are sewing right sides together. You do not want to have to pick this out. So you should be always looking at the wrong side of your shirt when you're sewing and keep the right side of the fabric inside. So you can see how I just kind of went around the corner, kept it simple. It's not a perfect V, but it doesn't really matter for this play shirt. And I'm going to do the same on the other side. So match very carefully the ends of your hemmed sleeve, and then you just go down from there. Okay, and all the way down the side seam. And then we only have one step left. Okay, so here we go. We've got this side done, and now you've got pretty cool looking shirt from the inside. All right, so I'm going to turn it outside. Okay, and my neck seam is in the back, which is something you really do want to make sure that you, if you're going to do this neck like this, that you don't have that mark on the front side, because, you know, that's just not as pretty. So, although actually maybe as I look at it, it might be on the front side. So I might have made a mistake on that one. Anyway, okay, so we are then going to hem the bottom, and I'm going to turn about a 1-inch hem under from the front side to the back side, and then I'm just going to sew with my double needle again on this machine with woolly nylon on the bottom. And you can order woolly nylon off Amazon. In my the video post above, I've given you links that you can order if you want to order it, but I bought mine at Joann's. It comes in a weird looking spool, like it looks like it's for a serger. It doesn't look like this, but when you just wind it on the bottom, and I've given tips for that in the post above, you can easily just put it on your bobbin because you're not using it up at the top anyway. All right, so around the bottom, we're going to do about a 1-inch hem. Okay? So let's just go around. And you can also use this double needle if you want to top stitch around your neckline. If I did, I'll have to double check, but if I did make the mistake that the neck seam is in the front, I will be ripping it out after we finish here and putting the neck in the seam in the back, and so I won't be top stitching until I would make that change. But if you can leave it like it is, oh, you have a pair. You can top stitch around, or you can leave it like it is. Now, if you top stitch and you don't have woolly nylon and you don't have a double needle, then you're going to want to use a zigzag or a knit stitch, because otherwise, as you're pulling that over your head, you'll just pop all the stitches, because a normal straight stitch does not have the stretch that you need for top stitching a knit neckline. You definitely would need a stitch that has some give. Okay, so our hem is finished. our shirt is nearly done. Okay, so hemmed on the bottom. You know, of course, trim your threads, take care of all that. But the one last thing I'm going to show you before I finish off is on these exposed seams on the side. So the front looks great, and you know, this is the trade-off for having a flat surface for hemming, is that you do have one extra step just to finish the seam. So I'm going to tuck this tail to the side of my seam allowance. You could do this whether it's a serger seam or just if you have been sewing on your regular sewing machine. And so I'm going to fold it over, and then I'm going to just top stitch just a little bit along there, and then I'll trim my seam. And that will just secure the ends of both that inside seam and the top seam. So I just kind of go back and forth. And as long as you've got coordinating thread already in your machine, it should be fine. So, okay, now we have this, just that will be on the underside of our sleeve, but it has secured the tail of the serger seam, and I'm just going to clip the ends, and then now we've got kind of a finished sleeve, and there you go. Okay, so that's the kids' raglan, and if you want to see it modeled, we could do a quick try on right now because we have a model. So we'll put it on over her shirt. These are pajamas that I also made her. But do you want to try this on? You want to put it on? Okay, let's see. Oh. All right. Oh, ball, 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 ball. Yay. Peekaboo. Peekaboo. All right. There. That looks cute, right? So this will be a great summer play shirt for her. I will have to fix the neckline. Here you go, Rosie, say hi. I'll have to fix the neckline, maybe get her some pants on, and then we can get her out in public, because right now she is not work for public. So anyway, I hope you enjoy this. I will do this again with other patterns and hopefully with less technical difficulties. But look how easy that was. You can do it. And you can go back and look at this video to see how I did it, or the pictures that I have on my blog. There's a photo tutorial. It's a simple pattern. Anybody can sew it. All you need is this sewing machine. You do not need a serger. All the seams can just be done. And again, more information on that is in the blog post. But all this can be done on just a regular sewing machine. So they're cheap. You can get one for like $50. And so how fun to start sewing your own kids' clothes. So I hope you enjoyed this. I had a good time. I hope next time there are less technical issues. I will make sure I'm set up for it next time. But have a good night, and that's all for me. Bye.